For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
News team, assemble!
Joining us live, because if you want to know anything about the Outer Banks, Sam Walker's the dude to fill you in.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli.
Always appreciate talking to you.
Always good stuff with Sam Walker in the Outer Banks.
Now here's Les Nessman and the news.
Thank God it's Friday!
And good morning, everyone. It is OBX Today Live for Friday, February 25th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. Get your week wrapped up and your weekend ready to begin. A few headlines to get to on this Friday morning here on OBX Today Live. And let's get right to them. Yesterday, we got a press release from the Killable Hills Police Department that a rifle that had been missing, a missing rifle had been located as believed to be connected to a presumed suicide earlier this month in Killable Hills. A 36-year-old man from New York was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot near the Atlantic Street beach access the morning of February 12th. Full details of that man's identity were not released. The Killable Hills Police Department said a beachgoer found 27 caliber Winchester bolt-action rifle near the same beach access on Wednesday. The weapon showed clear signs of being in the ocean for a significant period of time, according to police. A second weapon was believed to also be missing at the time of the incident, but police said Thursday, information developed later, determined there was no second gun involved. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention expect to ease COVID-19 guidelines today with new criteria to drop mask recommendations from most of the U.S. as cases ebb. Meantime, Governor Roy Cooper has vetoed a bill that would have given parents the ability to opt out of school mask mandates for their children. The bill was passed the same day Cooper announced state recommendations on masks in schools would be relaxed. Most school systems around the state and the region have already gone to mask optional or doing so over the next week or so. One school system, large school system in North Carolina, Durham County Schools, actually said they're going to keep their mask mandate in place, making that decision yesterday. The legislation that was vetoed was rushed through the General Assembly within days of its proposal. The bill, same day that, like I said, that same day the bill passed, Governor Cooper held a news conference urging local leaders to end mask mandates in schools as well as towns and cities. It's not clear if there's enough of a, there is in the House to possibly override the veto, but there is a possibility that it probably will not get through the Senate. There may not be enough numbers there to override a veto in the Senate. So we'll keep an eye on that. As I said, the CDC is expected to loosen federal mask wearing guidelines today. That's expected to come from the White House at some point this morning. The changes to the metrics it uses to determine whether to recommend face covering, shifting from looking at COVID-19 case counts to more of a holistic view of risk from the coronavirus to a community. Under current guidelines, masks are recommended for people residing in communities of substantial or high transmission. That's roughly 95% of U.S. counties. The CDC puts out a map each day with the reds, orange, yellow, etc. Only 2 counties in northeast North Carolina have been into the orange, or 3 counties rather, in North Carolina overall out of the 100, and all 3 of those are here in the northeast. Chowan, Gates, and Hertford counties were actually in the orange earlier this week. The shift in that may change how that they do the metrics on those maps, and that'll have a significant change as far as the mask recommendations. That's expected to be announced later on today. For the first time since last June, North Carolina reported no new deaths from COVID-19 yesterday. Hospitalizations continue their decline statewide yesterday, down to the lowest number since December the 27th. Candidate filing for the 2022 primaries did resume yesterday. It's after the courts finalized legislative and congressional districts. Among those who had to refile due to a district change is State Representative Bobby Hanig of Currituck. He's now running for the 3rd District Senate seat rather than in the 1st District. He had already planned to leave the House to run for the Senate this year. And now with that shift in the way that the districts are set up here in northeast North Carolina, with the 3rd District covering Currituck, Camden, and mainland counties, other mainland counties, where Dare County is going to be in the 1st District still with other mainland counties. Filing continues through next Friday, so some candidates are going to have to refile that had already filed before on the state side and the congressional side. Local candidates, that should not affect them as the redistricting does not apply. But again, filing has reopened and will run through Friday. The primary will be in May. We talked about it yesterday. The long-delayed Ocracoke passenger ferry has finally arrived. This is the state-run ferry. In case you missed it in yesterday's show, the vessel actually arrived at the Hatteras Ferry Dock Wednesday rather. This is the vessel that the state has been trying to get built since 2018. There were construction delays. The state had to lease a ferry from Sea Streak out of New Jersey for the last couple of years. And the Ocracoke Express passenger ferry that's now owned and operated by the North Carolina Department of Transportation Ferry Division is at its dock in Hatteras Village, and now they'll begin sea trials and training for their crew members that are going to be running that. No word yet on when that's going to start, and there's no word yet on when runs will start for passengers. Ferry's normally been running roughly Memorial Day to Labor Day, although last year it didn't run until mid-June. And the year before that didn't start until July because of the pandemic. So we'll keep you posted as far as what's going to happen there with the Ocracoke Express passenger ferry when it's ready to start making its runs across Hatteras Inlet. Let's see what else we got. Kind of a short news day today. Not a whole lot happening local wise, but which always means there's probably going to be stuff that kicks into high gear. So we'll take a break, come back with more here on OBX Today Live, so stick around.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
Our pet of the week for this week is Butterfly Boy. This cool cat is 10 months old. He came to the shelter after being an outdoor cat, but has transitioned well to indoor life. He He is super chill, likes napping in the sun and snuggling. He is not fond of other cats, so a house with no other pets is best for him. To adopt Butterfly Boy or foster one of our other animals, you can come visit us Monday through Saturday at our shelter located in Manio. For more information, visit our website at www.obxspca.org or visit our OBX SPCA Facebook page.
The graveyard of the Atlantic kind of has loose boundaries, but it's a geographic area where there are significant shipwrecks that occurred. People don't always understand the importance of the maritime history off North Carolina. There's over 2,000 shipwrecks off the Outer Banks alone. And there are over 5,000 shipwrecks off North Carolina. We consider the boundaries to be between Currituck and Bogue Banks.
Shoals are a challenge for navigation. These shallow areas typically near a coastline, and it's sort of like a submerged dune, a dune field. Along the Outer Banks, we've got several different shoals, shoal systems, if you will. Platte Shoals, Wimble Shoals, Kinnickinnick Shoals, and sort of the pinnacle of it all is Diamond Shoals right off of Cape Hatteras. Very little actually is stationary off of our coast, and so these things are in constant motion through time. Shelley Island was essentially a subaerial portion of the shoal. In other words, it breached the surface. During 2017, we had southwest winds, which likely led to a lot of confluence of those currents. And you could see that shoal forming slowly throughout the winter. It just goes to show that it's a living shoal. We talk about Jockey's Ridge as a living dune. These shoals are no different. They're constantly moving because of currents and waves. So these are a challenge for navigation. You go from fairly deep water to less than 10 feet of water pretty quick along these shoals. And so ships like the Ocean Pursuit didn't quite make it through the inlet and fell prey to the shifting shoals.
The graveyard of the Atlantic refers to the waters off of, more specifically, Hatteras and Ocracoke, and it is the resting place of well over 2,000 ships and thousands of people, spanning a period of 400 years. I would say the shoals make it one of the most dangerous elements of sailing off the coast here. Now add piracy, warfare, and catastrophic weather, and you've got a pretty miserable combination. USS Huron was the last iron-hulled sailing vessel commissioned by the Navy. It had the most recent appointments, weapon systems, everything else. It was traveling through here and was caught in a disastrous storm. Ran on the shoals, but there was no life-saving stations open. And 90 officers and men perished on that wreck. It caused such public outrage. And they were so close to shore, they could have been rescued. And Congress was forced to recognize that this is a real problem, and that's when they started establishing the life-saving service in 1878. The Monitor was never designed as an ocean-going vessel. It really was designed as a riverine vessel. It was being towed to Beaufort, South Carolina. They get hit by a nor'easter. The Navy had been told, do not jack up the turret. They didn't listen, they jacked it up. It changed the center of balance. Then on top of that, the anchor well was such that it came up into the ship. So every time it came up on a wave and came down, there was a geyser of water was coming up to the anchor well. So pretty soon, the men in the Monitor are up to over their knees in ice water. I mean, this is cold water now. So they start to abandon ship. And they got all but 16 men off the vessel, and they were on their way back to see her, and they were looking for the Red Lantern, and a wave came in, and all of a sudden it simply disappeared. It was gone. It was only found relatively recently in the 1970s. The turret is now up, at the Mariners Museum in Newport News, and we'll be having the anchor and a few other artifacts to tell the story of the sinking in this museum. The Graveyard Land Museum is dedicated to the interpretation and the study and the preservation of the shipwrecks that are off North Carolina coast, off of Hatteras and Ocracoke. It's also about the cultural history, the maritime culture, which exists on the Outer Banks. So this was a remarkable place, and this museum is focused and dedicated toward the preservation and the interpretation of that history.
The museum was founded on the backs of the people of Hatteras Island. A group of people got together and they decided that they needed to have a museum because there was an opportunity to bring artifacts here from the Monitor. But of course, you've got to have a building where you can safely keep artifacts in a climate-controlled area.
The Park Service came to those local citizens and said, look, we didn't get the Monitor, but that's just one ship in a 4-year period. You have thousands of ships over a 400-year period. What do you say we go ahead and we make a museum here focused on that? And the community rallied to that. And I think that's the important thing to keep in mind here. It was a community effort, it was a family effort, recognizing that their maritime heritage and their history was worth saving. And that's important. And that means that people recognize that we are one of the stewards of the history of maritime North Carolina, and more specifically of the Outer Banks, Hatteras and Ocracoke.
The Graveyard of the Atlantic Museum is an experience. You can come here and you're going to find out about amazing things that occurred here on these little slips of sand that most people don't even know about.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today, and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
Back here on OBX Today Live on Facebook and YouTube, I'm Sam Walker. Make sure you mash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell to know whenever we go live. Theater of Dare finally gets back today. They finally get back on track with their schedule today, and of course they're doing so in their brand new home, which is located in Kitty Hawk, in the Kitty Hawk Plaza Shopping Center at Milepost 4, formerly known as Paparazzi's, and before that, the Outer Banks Showcase. Shows tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. Now, tonight is sold out, and the Sunday matinee is sold out. They do have some tickets available for tomorrow evening show. They have added another weekend, next weekend, the 4th and 5th, Friday and Saturday at 7:30, Sunday at 2 p.m. Theater Dare's new theater, 3848 North Croatan Highway, Milepost 4, again, the former Paparazzi. We got details at obxa.com about how you can buy tickets. And you can, well, you know what? After we do another segment here, we'll have a little bit of video from Theater Dare that they have produced. I got a couple of questions coming through. Let me run through those. Good morning, everybody. It's been checking in. Brandon in West Virginia, Virginia up in Ohio. Yeah, we're a little slow today getting started. Takes a little while to get things all fired up. And, you know, when you're doing this from your home studio, sometimes, you know, there's things got to be done here. Margie, good morning in Baltimore. Leonard, Mike, George up in Connecticut is always checking in. Yep, you got the snow. John, you got the cold and rain in South Jersey. We've got fog and cool conditions this morning here in the Outer Banks, as you can see from our live shot from Corolla. Supposed to be burning off. We'll get to that in the OBX Today Weather Center forecast. Let's see who else checking in here. Dave up in New Kent, Virginia, same thing, fog and drizzle. It's a little warmer than 35 though here. Jan, Jamie, Wayne, all y'all checking in. Mitch got a great question. We'll go back to the Ocracoke Express passenger ferry. I need to pull up one of our old stories from when the ferry itself was commissioned for this vessel. I can tell you it doesn't take a lot of water for them to run. They only need a couple of feet because being a pontoon or catamaran style vessel, as you can see in that still shot from Joy Kristoff taken from the ferry dock on Wednesday. It doesn't have to draw a lot of water, and that's one benefit of it. The other question about when golf carts be able to travel the entirety of Ocracoke Island, that is not clear when that would happen, if that could happen. So there is a possibility. It's not been discussed about possibly allowing the golf carts and the tram to head up to the Lifeguard Beach access. Some of that has to do with the narrow nature of Highway 12 once you leave the village and the speeds out there. There have been some discussions, at least, of getting the passenger fare, or rather the shuttle service that is available in Ocracoke Village to possibly make runs out to Lifeguard Beach. Because if you, say, for example, take the passenger ferry, there is no direct beach access to the ocean from Ocracoke Village because of where it's located on the sound side. And at Ramp 72 is the closest access to the beach. And that's a pretty decent drive. So they have not come up with a plan yet on expanding the expanding the shuttle service outside the village. So that's something that has been in discussion, and we'll see if something may change with that. But again, some of that has to do with the nature of Highway 12 itself, because it's so narrow, relatively speaking, it's narrow once you leave the village. Right now, the golf carts are really just designed to run inside the village. So it's a good question, Mitch. We'll get you some more details about the vessel itself, because we're going to go back through our archives to look for the information we got when the vessel was commissioned back in 2018 and was slowed. The construction was slowed because they didn't have enough welders because of the nature of that steel or the construction of that vessel. The contractor that they had originally hired just wasn't able to fulfill things, and that changed down in Hubert in Carteret County is where the vessel was built. It had been docked for a while at the Cherry Branch ferry terminal, and then again was brought over on Wednesday to Hatteras, and now they'll get the training going. So great questions there, Mitch. Thanks for that. And hey, anytime y'all want to throw questions at us, feel free. We can try to answer them as best we can here on OBX Today Live. That's the cool thing about being able to interact with our viewers during the show. All right, so that's that. The Outer Banks Community Foundation has honored Sheila Davies, the director of the Dare County Department of Health and Human Services. She has been awarded their Community Foundation 2021 champion for her service and dedication to the Outer Banks in leading the community during the pandemic and beyond. Also, three new members of the board were elected. Betty Govan Selby, Ray Meggs, and Claudia Neal have been elected to the board of the Outer Banks Community Foundation. As two members retired, Jane Webster, who retired as the vice chair of the Community Foundation and grants chair, and Nancy Cavanis of Duck, who served as an at-large member, including a scholarship committee co-chair. In 2021, grants and disbursements went to the community through donor-advised funds of $169,000, organization and designated funds $169,000, $174,000 in scholarships, $207,000 in community enrichment and focus grants, and $146,000 in disaster grants coming from the Community Foundation. Outer Banks Community Foundation, nonprofit charitable organization connecting people who care with causes that matter. Based in Southern Shores, manages $25 million across more than 200 charitable funds for individuals and agencies. Clark Twitty is the Community Foundation Board chair, and of course, executive director is Chris Sowen, and CEO. And we're going to get Chris back on the show here. Let's see here. So, yep, congrats to all those folks at the Community Foundation as they celebrate 40 years. And you can read our story at obxtoday.com that came from the Community Foundation right now on the Neighbor to Neighbor Help Zone. Leslie chiming in. Yeah, thanks for adding that info. Yep, let's see. Can't go past Howard Pub. At least about 13 miles can't be accessed by golf carts. Bike rentals are available anywhere. And of course, you can also rent four-wheel drives. Good points there, Leslie. Thanks for adding that in as far as the situation down in Ocracoke with the golf carts. Yeah, you can't go past the end of the village and go into the seashore. Some of that also has to do with the regulations that the Cape Hatteras National Seashore has as well with golf carts themselves. But there have, like I said, been discussions about the tram service, the free tram that's available, possibly someday going out to the Lifeguard Beach access. We'll see. Another thing going on in Ocracoke, there's a project set to begin on a new restroom facility at the Discovery Center. That's adjacent to the ferry docks in Silver Lake. $190,000 project to renovate the inside of that facility. Starting on Monday, there'll be 2 restrooms located behind the renovated facility available to the public during the project. This comes just as they're wrapping up that project at Frisco, at the Frisco Bathhouse. That's coming to a close here in the next couple of weeks. All right, we'll take a break. Come back with sports here on OBX Today Live.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
In the 19th century, before the time of the U.S. Coast Guard, there were 29 life-saving stations along the coast of North Carolina. Here in the Outer Banks, the Pea Island Life Saving Station and its crew have become famous for their incredible history and heroic actions. The year was 1880, and Richard Etheridge had just become the first black keeper of station number 17, and in turn commanded the first all-black crew of a life-saving station. Etheridge trained his crew well and pushed them to become the best that they could be. This rigorous training paid off during the rescue of the E.S. Newman on October 11, 1896. The nightly beach walk was called off that night due to hurricane conditions, but surfman Theodore Meekins was assigned lookout from the watchtower and spotted a red flare from the distressed ship. The Pea Island Life Saving Station quickly sprung into action, and they first attempted rescue with a Lyle gun, but could not get it to fire due to the heavy rain and overwash. Keeper Etheridge asked for volunteers to tie a rope around their waist and swim out to the E.S. Newman. His plan was successful, and over the course of the next 4 hours, 10 trips were made to the ship, and Captain S.A. Gardner, his wife, his son, and his 6 crewmates were all rescued. No medals were given for their heroic rescue until 100 years later, when they were awarded the Gold Life-Saving Medal by the U.S. Coast Guard.
We are the Pea Island Preservation Society. This weekend happens to be a very special weekend because it's a couple of days before the station's most famous wreck.
125 years after the rescue of the E.S. Newman, the Pea Island Preservation Society held an anniversary celebration in Manio in remembrance of the heroic rescue.
Folks, let's give this motley crew a big hand.
This included a special presentation at the aquarium on Roanoke Island, as well as placing a wreath on Keeper Etheridge's grave. To cap off the event, it was announced that October 11, 2021 would become Pea Island Lifesavers Day, to forever commemorate the Pea Island Life-Saving Station.
October the 11th, 2021 is Pea Island Lifesavers Day. In North Carolina, and commend its observance to all citizens. So thank you.
Yeah, stand up. Thank you. Is that not great news?
This was followed by a second event at the Haven Creek Baptist Church in Manio.
Like the children of the Israelites.
All right. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children. God's gonna trouble the waters. I'd like to welcome everyone here today and thank you for coming out to help us celebrate the 125th anniversary of the E.S. Newman rescue. To all the descendants of the men who served at Pea Island, their past lives within you, for you are a product of their past, the keeper of their story. And it is our duty to tell their story, to inspire and educate future generations.
We're here to honor Richard Etheridge today. He was the epitome of a great leader. He was loved and respected by his men and other lifesavers. And of course, he was revered by those he rescued.
You've heard the names before and you'll hear them again. Richard Etheridge, Theodore Meekins, Benjamin Bowser, Louis Westcott, Dorman Pugh, Stanley Wise, William Irving, because as I said, if not for them, I would not be here today. There would be no Gardner family. Although time separates us, I wish to thank Richard Etheridge and the crew for their courage, dedication, and humility.
So the establishment of an all-black crew at Pea Island seemed like a promising opportunity. By comparison, here was a station where they might rise in the ranks. The black community took pride in Pea Island. Even now, 125 years later, their example lights our paths toward a better tomorrow.
The history of the crew at the Pea Island Station continues to this day, and their legacy is marked by the role they played in the collective work done by all life-saving stations across the Outer Banks. The all-black Pea Island Life-Saving Station means so much to the U.S. Coast Guard, and it is one of our proudest moments in our 231 plus years of service history of saving lives.
The Pea Island Preservation Society operates the Cookhouse Museum in Manio, where there are countless artifacts and photos documenting the history of the first all-black life-saving station. Here you will find Joan and Darrell Collins, cousins and descendants of Herbert Collins, the last man in charge of Pea Island before it was deactivated in 1947.
This history, I believe, is just so telling about what the history of this country represents. Blacks, whites, Native Americans, people of mixed heritage, who lived right here on Roanoke Island, who are related, who share a common bond, whose lives were, yes, very, very different, but in many respects, very much the same.
The incredible story of Richard Etheridge and his crew will live on forever at the Pea Island Cookhouse Museum in Manio and in the hearts and minds of all those who visit.
For over 15 years, Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated has been a beacon of light, guiding local families through difficult times. Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated proudly provides all families with compassionate choices for professional funeral care at reasonable prices. Get the answers you need 24 hours a day. No answering services, hidden costs, add-on fees, confusing fine print, or those scary-looking contracts. Remember, Gallup Funeral Services owns and operates the only crematory in Dare County, keeping our cremations affordable and convenient. Gallup Memorial Chapel in Bargo, North Carolina is now open and minutes from Moyock and Elizabeth City. From traditional church services and graveside burials to direct cremations and advanced planning, let Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated light the way for your family. Don't be pressured or confused by the other funeral homes. It's always your choice. Choose Gallup Funeral Services Incorporated. Call Courtney at 252-216-8030 to get a plan started today and visit our new website at gallupfuneralservices.com.
Back on OBX Today Live here on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining us on this Friday edition.
Thank God it's Friday!
All right. In sports, a high school basketball playoff second round last night. Only a couple of local teams survived. On the boys' play, it was First Flight over East Wake, 88-74. Hertford County downing Northeastern 60-35 in their fifth meeting this season. Perquimans lost to Wilson Prep 93-59, and Pender beat Bertie 65-60. In girls' play, it was Cape Fear 58, First Light 41, Chatham Central 44, Ocracoke 34, North Lenoir 74, Northeastern 60, Perquimans 58, Vance Charter 38, Hertford County 54, Fairmont 44, and Bertie 77, Woods Charter 31. So the third round is tomorrow. First Flight home to take on Northwood. Not seen a time yet on that start. Whether it'll be, I think they're probably going to try to work to get it as an afternoon game, but it may be an evening game. So get an email here shortly from Coach Chad Williams at First Flight here anytime now. But to anticipate, they try to play those Saturday games in the afternoon just because of the travel. But with Northwood having to come in from out in the Sand Hills section of the state, it's a longer trip. So they might do it as an evening game. Hertford County will head down to Robinson County to take on St. Paul's. In girls' play, Hertford County will host Roanoke Rapids. Perquimans will be at Falls Lake Academy, and Bertie hosts Chatham Central. Spring sports season getting ready to start. Scrimmages for baseball and girls soccer and softball and lacrosse all getting ready to happen, and seasons will be starting in spring here very, very shortly. All right, OBX Today Weather Center forecast for today. We're starting out with some fog, as you can see from our live shot in Corolla. Seen the sun poke out. In fact, the sun's out now on Hatteras Island. There's his live shot from Avon right now. But up on the North Beach is still kind of a blanket of fog. That's going to be around through mid-morning. Mostly cloudy skies today. We'll get a high of around 69 at the beach with south winds around 10 to 15 miles an hour. Shifting to the west in the afternoon. So that'll help get the fog out of here. Mostly cloudy tonight, low down to 40. It'll be breezy when shifting back to the north. We're kind of getting this front that's kind of drifting back and forth over us. And we're going to stay in the cold side of that front now for the next couple of days, it looks like. We will be partly sunny tomorrow with a high 47. Tonight, don't forget, tonight. Mostly cloudy, breezy 40. So I feel like it's in the 30s. Partly sunny 47 tomorrow with a north wind. Maybe a little rain Saturday night and 38. Chance of early rain Sunday, high 51. Under mostly cloudy skies. Monday, sunny, breezy, high of just 48. 56 and sunny Tuesday and Wednesday to start March. 54 and sunny on Thursday. Coastal Marine forecast. We do have a small craft advisory for the open waters with seas 3 to 5 feet, 2 to 3 foot waves in the sound, so a little choppy out there. Water temperatures, that's part of the reason why we got the fog. 45 on the north beaches, 52 Rodanthe, 61 Avon. On the sound side, anywhere from the mid-40s to the upper 50s in the shallower waters because of the warming we've had the last couple of days. Next tide change at Oregon Inlet's a low tide at 9:35. Sunset tonight at 5:53. Sunrise tomorrow is at 6:35. Currently outside the studios in Uptown Nags Head, fog and 48 degrees. Merman Dan weighing in there. Yeah, there's been some whale spottings off Jeanette's Pier just the other day. It's that time of year when the whales are kind of moving back and forth, getting in close to shore, depending on what they're chasing. And don't forget about the seals. We might see a seal or two come up, maybe. Haven't heard, like I said, not had a lot of reports about seals hauling out recently. But, yep, next couple of days and we get out on the beach, get the camera ready. You never know what you might see. So, again, 50 right now and fog. And that's going to do it for OBX Today Live.
Thank God it's Friday!
For this February 25th, 2022. Thanks, everybody who joined us today and checked in with us on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you mash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell to know whenever we go live. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here on OBX Today Live. Have a good Friday and a good weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.